An Industry Research Analysis by Kiera. The industry I will be discussing is the musical theater industry. I will start off by discussing a pest analysis of the industry, and then we'll finish by answering the questions that were discussed in part 3. I will start my pest analysis with the political topic, starting with censorship. Censorship is prevalent in the entertainment industry, and musical theater is no stranger to these conditions. Since some of the very first productions, writers have had to deal with the effects of censorship and government regulation. For example, up until the late 1960s, all shows produced in England had to have been approved by the government before opening. Even though the rules are not as strict now, writers are still faced with censorship disputes. In 2005, the musical Jerry Springer was highly protested throughout London. The show includes hundreds of swear words, many offensive scenes, and pretty bad content, and as a result, was protested throughout London. Musical theater can affect society views. Musicals such as Ragtime, Rent, and Les Mis were written to touch on political issues of the period in which the musical was set. A musical's plot can unexpectedly convey a political message to members of the audience while they enjoy production of singing and dancing. The problem with this type of musical is it might be dark and not as fun. Studies have shown that most audience members enjoy a more light-hearted and fun musical as opposed to a highly political one. Because of the political expression, musical theater can also help form people's political opinion. In an article on the Full Sail Library called Oklahoma, an immigrant performer discusses how musicals have formed his political opinion and outlook on the world. Another article was about a director who lost and refound a passion for musical theater. Her story discusses how musicals have changed her perception on life. The best support for this topic are personal accounts. There are articles upon articles of stories on how musicals have affected the political consciousness and opinions of others. Next, I will be discussing the economical portion of the pest analysis. Elementary schools and high schools are a great place to develop a love for music. I learned many essential tools for performance while in high school. Because of government cuts, many extracurricular activities are being removed from the schools, including the theater program. By doing this, the government is stopping exposure of musical theater to students that they could benefit. New theaters are rising and falling very quickly. Because of a weak economy, many theater companies are having a hard time financially sustaining their businesses. Many have lost their venues and some have had to stop production altogether. A theater company's playhouse is a great place not only to put on productions, but also to have an administrative office, storage, and practice space. But because of its struggling economy, these playhouses are hard to sustain, ultimately failing before any good use has been gotten out of them. Study shows that a weaker economy results in struggling for the arts. Because being involved in the arts, I have seen this happen many times. The percentage of theater goers comes down consistently from year to year, starting in the early 2000s. Helen Hayes, the CEO and president of the Helen Hayes Awards, who conducted this study, said, "In an uncertain economy, art is often among the first things to be eliminated from discretionary spending. Without proper marketing and advertising, it is difficult to get the word out, resulting in a negative hit on attendance. Also, with less extra money for families to spend, the less likely they will be able to buy theater tickets. So, a weaker economy reflects low theater attendance. At this point, I'm moving to the sociocultural portion of the pest analysis, starting with musical revivals. When reviving classical musicals, the issue is appealing to modern day audiences. Musicals such as Annie Get Your Gun and Camelot have a harder time reaching a modern audience as opposed to shows such as Legally Blonde, Chicago, and Rent. With an old show, you have two strikes against you from the very start, says veteran Broadway producer and theater owner Stuart Lane. People say, "Oh, I've seen that before and loved it, and I want to see something different." Or that old chestnut who wants to see it again says, "I want something new." In order to save these revivals, producers and directors work hard to bring something different to the show that the audience hasn't seen before, while sticking to the classics that shouldn't be touched. According to the Broadway League, about 80% of tickets purchased are by Caucasian theater goers over the age of 30, with an average annual income of $193,000. This is a very small margin of theater goers. This industry needs to research why this is and find ways to spark interest to a more diverse demographic. TV musicals such as Glee and High School Musical have sparked interest of demographics that may not have been reached by producers otherwise. Shows like Bring It On and Legally Blonde take productions that teens and tweens have enjoyed on the television and movie screen and brought them to the stage. This is a great way to spark interest of this demographic that may not have been reached in a traditional way. At this point, I'm going to move to the technological portion of the pest analysis, starting with internet profiles. Through social media, performers are able to market themselves electronically. The internet is used on numerous occasions to search for talent to cast. There is actually a website for performers to place their headshots, resume, and previous performance clips for casting directors to see, called Backstage.com. This website also gives performers information on casting calls and gives casting directors the opportunity to get the word out about their shows and pre-screen some of the talented performers on this site. Movie musicals are a great way to showcase a musical mainstream. Movies such as Sweeney Todd, Dreamgirls, Les Mis are bringing on-stage performances to the movie screen. Many of the movie plots stay very true to its original Broadway story. By putting big-name actors with these movie musicals, producers are getting the shows out to people who would not readily attend them on the stage. Musicals theater assists in learning for visually impaired children. Studies have shown that the musical theater integrated into the curriculum for students with visual impairments. The arts are a regular tool used to help students with disabilities improve academically because it is engaging and interactive. Specifically, it helps visually impaired students imaginatively interpret stories through visual, tactual, and auditory means. There are books and lesson plans that have been written on this subject to assist teachers in this type of learning. So that's it for the pest analysis. And from this point, I'm going to go to part 3, the questions from our ebook. So the first question I chose was problem 4. What are the most important responsibilities of a project manager? In my industry, the project would be a musical, and the project manager would be the producer of that musical. The overall responsibilities of a producer would be to assume responsibility for the musical production, employ relevant show managing processes, and leading the team, which would include the cast, crew, musicians, marketing, finance, management, and venue. A show's producer has his or her name on it. The producer must have a business and creative understanding of the musical he or she is producing. They must have their hands in all aspects of the project's processes. The producer will have to determine what processes are required to produce the musical. Casting, marketing, music, venue, sponsorship, and advertising are all necessary for putting on a successful musical. A producer cannot accomplish the required processes alone. He or she needs a team. The producer will be in constant contact with the director, marketing team, stage crew director, and many others to keep production together. Problem 34. How can I organize my team for maximum creativity, flexibility, and success? All members of the team work together to create an amazing show that viewers will enjoy. All members should specialize in one aspect of the show, even though as a team may be new, each person should have experience in their designated field. This helps develop self-management of each team. Musicals can vary in size. Some can be a black box show that show on smaller stages, and others are large musicals that are performed on a large stage. The team size will be in proportion with the size of the show that is being produced. When a cast and crew is smaller, it is easier for everyone to get to know one another, and to develop a teamwork mentality. The larger the show, the more difficult familiarity between cast and crew can become. How do I keep people focused without hurting morale? Problem 37. Sometimes maintaining morale can be very difficult as the show approaches. The producer must keep all teams motivated and with positive attitudes, all working towards the same goal. It is important that accomplishments are celebrated as milestones are reached. The producer must ensure that the team is all reaching for the same goal, to put on an amazing show. Many people on the team will have a passion for the work they are doing, but with technical difficulties, vocal issues, set problems, and etc., morale can become low. The producer must exude positivity to his or her team to guarantee that a superb show is being produced. And that is the end of my industry analysis, and I hope you enjoyed.